Hey guys, I was just thinking to myself, like, what I should be talking about. And, like I've said before, I've been watching a lot of clips on Star Trek. And something that really strikes me about watching that nowadays is just how weird it is to see, like, Whoopi Goldberg in that. Now, back in the day, she was most well known for, what was the name of that movie? I forget. Oh, where she played a nun. And then she was also known for playing Guinan in Star Trek The Next Generation. And she's supposed to be such a nice person and such a wise person in that show. And it's really weird, seeing her give, actually good advice to, Captain Picard and the other people on the Enterprise. And then comparing that nowadays to where she is on The View. Now, she's always been, kind of a controversial figure. And it's not anything to do with her race. It's the fact that she changed her name. So if you're not aware, is that back in the day, I mentioned this, I think, before, is that she changed her last name to Goldberg. Now, she didn't marry anybody named Goldberg. I don't actually know what her original name is, but she changed her name to Goldberg while she's not Jewish. And, it seems like she did that specifically just so that, she would get more roles in Hollywood, because people would mistake her for being Jewish, or, the name sounded better than whatever her name was before that. Now, if you don't know what The View is, they have, a bunch of middle-aged women, basically, come onto the show, and they talk politics. Now, way, way, way long ago, it used to be, a centrist show. They would have, the majority of the women on there were still, leftist. But there were a lot of right-wing women on there, too, and it was supposed to be, a balanced analysis between women who kind of had, a fundamental understanding of politics while not being experts at it. And they were supposed to, kind of make points, and then people would have to then debate the points. They wouldn't come to a conclusion. Hell, even back in the day when they had Donald Trump on, Whoopi Goldberg referred to him as, his very good friend. Or was that Joy Behar? Either way, if you watch the old clips of Donald Trump on the show, it's absolutely amazing, how nice they treat him. Now, if you aren't aware, Donald Trump, back in the day, well, when he was a young man, he was a Republican, and then he switched to, I believe he switched to Democrat, then he switched to the Independent Party of New York, or he switched from Republican to the Independent Party of New York, and then he switched to Democrat, and then he switched to the Reform Party, and then he switched to Democrat. You'll hear a lot of people say that he's a New York, classical liberal Democrat, which, I get the point people are trying to make by saying that, but he started off as a Republican, as far as I'm aware. If you look it up on Wikipedia, and I know Wikipedia is not a good source for anything, but one thing you can kind of trust is at least the part on there that says when people were, when they were part of a party. Because those are just public records, you can look it up. But yeah, Donald Trump started as a Republican, then he switched to the Independent Party of New York, and then he switched to Democrat, and then he switched to the Reform Party. And he had, he ran for office in the Reform Party, which the Reform Party was made by, what was his name? I want to say Perot, but that's not correct at all. Either way. But yeah, when people had asked him on The View, Whoopi Goldberg included, asked him if he would run for president. Now, the idea was that they wanted him to run as a Democrat. And they actually kind of expected him to, because he had been a Democrat for years and years and years. He also had been a Republican for years and years and years. It generally just depended on whether or not, like, how he felt about the current people in office. Like, he switched to Democrat, or I think he switched to the Reform Party when George Bush was in charge. George W. Bush, not George H.W. Bush. And it's kind of the same thing with The Rock. Like, The Rock, I don't know if he's signed up with any party currently, but people want him to run for office, and it seems to be that they think that he's going to run as a Democrat, which, you know, may be true. But the way it sounds, like he's trying to kind of draw back a little bit on, like, liberal talking points, and he kind of just wants... He kind of sees where the wind is blowing, and he's a little bit more nuanced about it compared to, like, Oprah Winfrey and like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg. It really is just odd. Yeah, like, if you don't know, in Star Trek, Guinan is from a race of people, an alien species that got absorbed by the Borg, and they're like in the center. Their homeworld was like in the center of the galaxy, and they have some kind of empathetic or psychic powers of some sort. Like, one power they have is that they can sense when the timeline has changed, but they can't really... They don't know automatically what has changed, they just know that something has changed. And also, for some reason, they have some, like, very strong powers in regards to fighting the Q continuum, which the Q are, like, omnipotent, not omniscient, though. They're not all-knowing, but they're basically all-powerful individuals. More or less. I think Star Trek Picard changed that a little bit by allowing them to die of natural causes. And even that didn't quite, like, stick. Very weird, very weird. But she's like the counselor, or... No, that's not quite true, because Troy is the counselor. She's like the therapist, because she's empathetic, so she can read people's emotions and kind of read their minds a little bit. Whereas Guinan is like the old wise mentor, who can't really read minds, but she has some sort of weird powers. And she's like the old wise woman, several hundred years old in the show. And, like, she would just spread her wisdom, or spread, like, what knowledge she has on really esoteric, like, species that haven't been met by the Federation yet, but that her species has met. And they never really explain anything about her character, except that she's supposed to be this really nice, really wise, like, very, she's basically like an advisor to anyone who wants to come to her and ask questions. I was gonna say kind of like a fortune teller type of person, but she can't read the future or anything. And just comparing that and, like, the movie that Whoopi was in, where she was a nun, highly contrasts with her behavior nowadays. Now, they did surprise me. I'm talking about The View. And they did surprise me a lot recently, because they came out and condemned the Charlie Kirk assassin, which... they're like, we can't be doing stuff like this. I don't remember them saying anything similar to that when Trump got shot at. I think they were making fun of Trump when he got shot. But, I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass at that point. But, yeah. Like, listen to them talk anything about politics, and it's just absolutely insane just how, like, deranged they have gotten. I don't know, I just feel bad for a lot of these people, because you see a lot of these actors who used to be pretty reasonable people, and then you see them, like, get involved in really strange, like, ideologies. Now, I have a little bit more understanding for, like, Jackie Chan, but I also got to point out that he wanted to run for office in China as part of the Chinese Communist Party, which I don't know what his actual political beliefs are. Like, I don't know if he believes in socialism or communism or anything. But the point is he got denied by the Chinese government because they won't let him even join the Chinese Communist Party, as far as I'm aware. I think, like, the idea is that they believe he's too corrupted by capitalism in order to ever be a leader of the Chinese Communist Party, and they're afraid that he would actually be relatively popular and that he would try to make reforms to the government. So, I mean, I'm way more forgiving about that. It's just, I don't know, like, if he's an actual communist, or if he just was like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll run for office, and then everyone in the Chinese Communist Party is like, no, don't let him do it. But, God, it's also like Stephen Colbert, for example. Now, Stephen Colbert, I actually bought, like, his book back in the day, one of his books. I don't know if he has got multiple, but he used to pretend to be, like, a conservative. And back then, like, a lot of the beliefs that he was, like, espousing, I thought he seemed like a pretty cool guy. And he would make fun of, like, his guest. He would bring a guest in, and then left or right, if he thought they were kooky, he would make fun of them. Like, it didn't really matter what side of the aisle they were on. And he would pretend to be a conservative, so he would sometimes, like, he would mock a lot of the crazy leftists on the show as if he was a conservative. And he just expected his guests that they would either get mad and he would just mock him more, or they would understand that he was just playing a skit and they should just, you know, kind of get over it. But, like, his ribbing on conservatives was, like, pretty tame. It seemed, like, again, as a kid, as a young man, I actually thought he was, like, a conservative because of the way he was talking. And, you know, I didn't understand politics until like I was like 25 or so. I didn't really start looking into politics until around then. So if I were to go back and actually, like, listen to his old skits, I would be like, oh, okay, there's the seeds of what he eventually became. But, like, he's just so unbelievably hostile and, like, belligerent and just absolutely deranged. Like, the way he talks about Trump, he completely ignores that, like, Trump got accused of stuff that Democrats have been proven to have done. And he just completely ignores that fact. And it's absolutely insane, like, how some of these people are. And, like, yeah, a lot of late night hosts are like that. One of the hosts that seems to have got, like, the right idea is Jimmy Fallon. Now, I still don't think Jimmy Fallon's funny. I don't find him entertaining whatsoever. But one thing he has really avoided is talking politics. I think he actually had Donald Trump on one time, and he had like a normal conversation with the guy. And he's like, yeah, okay, he's fine. Like, he's not that bad. I mean, I wouldn't vote for him, but he's not that bad. And then, like, all the leftists and Democrats dogpiled him, saying, like, how dare you should never say that, and basically forced him to come out and apologize for, you know, having a friendly conversation with somebody who doesn't ideologically believe the same thing he does. You know, like a grown adult does, you know. Somebody who has, like, a modicum of, like, wisdom and just understanding. And like, I understand, like, where a lot of Democrats and liberals are coming from. I mean, I used to consider myself a social democrat when I was younger, when I was like 17 or so. And I even voted for Obama during his second run for office because, like, no one had ever criticized him. Like, no one ever said, like, he had done something terrible or something specifically awful. So I'm like, oh, well, he didn't do anything that good, but he didn't do anything that terrible, and I didn't like the guy he was running against. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. And it wasn't until much later until I learned about all the controversies that the media had buried. Because obviously they had buried the controversies. He was the first black president. And it was just, you know, just absolutely crazy. Like all the stuff they tried to hide from, well, I would say the ignorant voter. And I was very much an ignorant voter. Or the voter that, you know, kind of just doesn't really care until election season comes around, because not everyone like me is like really into politics. It's just a stressful thing, and that, like, they have that one uncle that always comes to the party at Christmas and like starts talking about politics. My family never had that, by the way. If we talk about politics, it's usually me and my two uncles, and surprisingly they're both kind of conservative now. I mean, my one uncle that everyone kind of didn't like, but it's not because of his politics, it's because of the way he acts. He was a conservative, but my uncle who grew up, like, who lives in a more liberal area has become more conservative over time. Like, he actually went to City Hall and, like, protested or, like, gave a speech against allowing the city to have, like, a weed dispensary put into the town. Oh man, I could talk all day about that city, but I guess I probably shouldn't, because they kind of give away more of where I live. It's not really that important. I could talk about, like, the Metro Detroit area a lot, and I can go through every different city and kind of explain, like, what their various issues are. But, you know, I won't go through it right now. It's just Mark Hamill, for example. Again, really cool guy. Always seemed like he was a decent man. He was like the nicest dude in the world. And then he just got super obsessed with Donald Trump for some reason. And all these people were really good friends with Donald Trump. Whoopi Goldberg, Mark Hamill, like, just all these people were really good friends with him. And they just decided, for whatever reason, that they hated the guy and decided that he was like the next fascist dictator, despite the fact that he's actually a pretty libertarian dude. And like, he's actually, like I said, he's been a Democrat. Like, he's a very, like, he's not liberal like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Barack Obama is, but a lot of the stuff that he preaches about, you know, like stopping illegal immigration, making sure that everyone has like their actual citizenship or green card, making sure that, like, we're not overtaxing people. Those were the ideas of Hillary Clinton back in the day. Like, when she was a senator, she was a big proponent of all that stuff. All the Democrats were not happy about illegal immigration and, like, crime in major cities. They used to be, like, I'll say this again, like, the parties never switched. They seem to kind of follow each other. Like, people will say that, like, the Republican Party had 23 black senators, and it took 150 years for the Democrats to get their first black senator after the Republicans' first black senator. And then they'll say that the party switched because the South turned from, like, KK Democrats into Republicans. But that's not how it worked at all. Just, people got so disgusted by the violence of the Democrats and the KKK that a lot of people switched to Republicans and started to support the Black Rights Movement. And it wasn't because that the parties switched ideologies. No, it was just because they were, people down there, the politicians were so racist that it made the people that were casually racist just, like, rethink their entire life choices. They're like, oh my God, these people are just nuts. And there were a few people that switched parties, but those were usually like the moderates. Like, I mean, even to this day, Democrats think that black people are too dumb to get into college. So they have to have lower standards, both in high school and college, in order to get into a higher education system. And they also think that all Hispanic people that are traveling to this country are coming here to pick our crops and like unclog our toilets. Like, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar literally said that, I think it was actually Joy Behar herself. I'm not sure if Whoopi said this, but Joy Behar said that if you get rid of all the illegal immigrants, who's going to clean the Republicans' toilets? And it's like, I clean my own toilet. I mean, my family is middle class, maybe upper middle class. We don't hire freaking a maid. We clean our own house. The majority of people clean their own houses. I mean, how rich do you have to be that you think that everyone has a maid that cleans their toilets? Like, they act like it's like this horrible, like, spiraling crisis that we don't have illegal immigrants to clean our toilets and pick our crops. Like, you know, there are plenty of, like, American farmers with American farm hands who pick our crops. Like, you don't need illegals to do that. Oh, but, like, if they will say, the Democrats will say that if you have to pay, like, full wages, like, pay, like, at least minimum wage to a farmhand, and the farm would go out of business. Or, no, they will imply that. They will literally imply that we should be paying illegal immigrants under the minimum wage in order to make sure that our farms succeed. A lot of the reason our farms don't succeed is because these people, the farmers, own so much land that the land is worth like $1 million. Now, you could try to sell it for $1 million, sure, but they're trying to, like, tax people based on how much the land is worth instead of how much money they make. So they will tax them like 10% of $1 million, whereas a farmer will only earn like $25,000 to $50,000 per year. Like, they earn less than like many office workers, despite the fact that they own land that's worth like $1 million. And like, Democrats try to increase taxes on these people because, oh, the farmers are like the bourgeois, excuse me, I can't even say that word, are the bourgeoisie. Like, that the farmers are rich. The farmers aren't rich. Their land is worth a lot of money. But the farmers themselves, they can barely make like yearly like profit to keep themselves in the business. You increase the taxes at all on farmers, a lot of them will just go out of business. And then China comes in and buys up all the farmland, which is something that everyone should not be happy about. You do not want China to be growing our food. Just FYI. It is not a good idea for a lot of reasons. Just look at the Great Leap Forward, among other many, many issues with the Chinese Communist Party. But anyways, yeah, it's just weird to see like how a lot of these celebrities have gone completely off the deep end, that they were like best friends with Trump, and then as soon as he runs as a Republican instead of the Democrat they wanted him to run as, suddenly they all hate him and they all change their point of views. Before, they all wanted to get rid of illegal immigrants. Now that Trump supports it, every single one of them has to oppose it. And it's insane. Imagine basing all your life choices and all your politics on the opposite point of view of somebody you don't like. And it's somebody that you used to love, too. These people are just crazy, man. I don't know what to do about them. I don't know what like, just let them go crazy, I guess. To be fair, a lot of them kind of got a little bit de-radicalized after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, but oh man, there's still a lot of people that are really messed up in the head. But I'm gonna leave it there, guys. That's basically all I have to say on that. It's just wild going back and watching those old shows or those old skits or those old comedy sections, and then comparing that to the comedy that they do nowadays, where it's just like vicious, horrible, like completely ignorant, like things that they're accusing like Trump of, or Republicans in general. Just very strange. Very strange. I mean, don't do drugs, kids. A lot of people in Hollywood do drugs, and I think it just burned out a lot of their brains. Yeah, anyways, I'll leave it there. Bye, guys.